This is how I typically approach these issues, really in the guise of what are the hot buttons that day-to-day an agency or design firm or creative services professionals deal in their business interactions with clients, with independent contractors and freelancers, with the IP that's associated with the work that they create, and that invokes what are the necessary terms and conditions that ought to be in your client contract about those things. Client branding and trademarks, and sort of how to assist your client and be a valued resource in that process without feeling like you're being expected to be their attorneys, which is not a fair place for you to have to be. And then, time permitting, a few issues more specific to the digital world related to content marketing and social, particularly in the realm of regulatory restrictions around disclosures, transparency as required by the FTC. Let's talk about your relationship with the client and the intellectual property issues that sort of get invoked there. Again, most reasonable business people are going to assume that rights follow money. Most of your clients would be really insulted if you went to them after the fact and said, you've paid us, but you don't own the rights to the work that we've done for you. So there's this tug and tension between what the copyright and the IP laws provide and what seems commercially reasonable. And frankly, in most cases, as agencies or providers, you don't care who owns the rights if you've been paid, but it's certainly significant leverage for you if you haven't. All right? If you want to have leverage above and beyond a simple money damages or contract breach claim, then making sure you address intellectual property rights in your agency services agreement is important to do. And making sure that the client understands that it does not own the rights to what you've done for them until you've paid them is important too. We talked a little bit about using copyright and confidentiality language in your new business proposal. Have these chunks of language ready. I mean, there are tools like Quote Roller or Workamajig where you can build this in and it just automatically becomes part of your contract template. So that'll at least trigger you to remember to include it when you generate new proposals. Have a centralized system and a centralized person in charge of tracking rights, releases, IP, license expirations for all the assets that you guys are using. And if you want to do it client by client, if you're big enough to justify that function, then do it that way. If you're not, then do it for the agency or the entity as a whole so that you've got one common docketing calendar system to know when rights are running out, or you can quickly find out what the limitations of the rights are.